everybody! The temperature has totally dropped here, and that's got me thinking about keeping my neck warm, and I thought maybe I would share my 30-minute scarf with you guys. This is a great project if you want to whip up something tonight and wear it to work tomorrow. It's also really super if you kind of find yourself needing a gift and you forgot to get one and you're like on your way out the door. Just grab your craft supplies and take them with you. You can make this on the way there. This scarf is cute, plain. It's really super if you decorate it. You know how I love to put stars on things. I even put a little flower on the other end. Star, flower. Anyway, this is a super quick, super fun scarf. Great for beginners, and it looks beautiful on anybody. So without further ado, let's go to the craft table. So this is the scarf that you saw me wearing in the intro, and if it looks familiar in color, that's because I made my slouchy hat using the same variegated fabric, and of course you remember my little shooting star in white. So what I did in order to make this scarf was I took the yarn that I made my hat with and the yarn that I made my shooting star with, and I held them together. Now I think I'm going to make myself a blue one today, so I'll just roll this up and get it out of here. And I'm going to give this ball a whirl. It's a Bernay. It's made for baby. It's a lovely size 4, and it's a nice soft fluffy thing, and I'm going to pair it up with a Red Heart Soft. This is also a size 4, and I'm going to hold this together with this one, and I think the two together will make a nice thick fabric for me to use to make my scarf. Of course, you're going to need your scissors and your yarn needle, and today, because I am doubling up my yarn, I am pulling out one of the big boys in the crochet hook world. This is a size 8mm, also known as an L. It's a big hook, and this is a plastic hook. I don't usually use these too much, but once you start working in sizes this large, it doesn't put as much stress on these plastic hooks as some work does. You'll notice the smaller the hook, usually the more it's metal or even steel once you get to the small ones. But the big ones, because you're usually doing loose work, you don't put that much pressure on them. It's okay if they're plastic, but if you have a large size 8 or an L that's in metal, so much the better. So in order to start, you're going to take both of your strands and you're going to line up your ends like so, and you're going to make a slip knot. So you're going to hold them both together for the entire project here. So you're going to make a slip knot holding them both together, and I like to use my hook to do that. So there's a slip knot. Put it on your hook. Make sure it can move back and forth. You don't want it to be too tight. And because this is such a big hook and it's going to create such a large loop, I'm going to chain 80. That's 80. So we're going to chain 80. Make sure when you wrap your yarn that you get both of them together. And take it easy. Take your time if you're new to holding 2 strands, but if you really know what you're doing, then just quickly chain 80. 77, 78, 79, 80. All right. So that is 80 chains, and you're going to notice that's quite a long length, but it should be, because this is how long your scarf is going to end up being. Now if you want it to be a little longer, go ahead and add some more chains, but I would start with at least 80, especially at this size. And you can see how big these chain stitches are already, and that gives you some indication of how long and how quickly this scarf can quickly work up. So we're going to chain another 3. So once you've chained your desired length, for me it's 80, you're going to chain 3 more. 1, 2, 3. This is going to act as our first double crochet, and we're going to crochet this scarf using the double crochet stitch. So you're going to double crochet into the 4th chain from the hook. So you ignore the first 3, because this is your turning chain, which will allow you to bring your work up to the right height. And this is going to be considered your first double crochet, so you're going to treat it as such. But you're going to put your first real double crochet into the 4th stitch, or the 4th chain from the hook. And a double crochet is you bring your yarn around your hook, you put your hook through that stitch, grab the yarn and pull it back so that you have 1, 2, 3 loops on the hook, and don't be confused by your doubled up yarn. Remember to try and consider these one big thick strand of yarn each. Wrap your yarn and pull through 2, wrap your yarn and pull through 2, and that's a double crochet. And you can see that it's the same height as the chain 3 that we did at the end. You are now going to double crochet into each and every single chain all the way back to the beginning of your foundation row. And just in case you're a little unsure, double crochet is wrap your yarn, go through that stitch, grab the yarn again to pull up a loop so that you have 1, 2, 3 loops on your hook, wrap your yarn, pull through 2, wrap your yarn, and pull through 2. And that's a double crochet. So double crochet all the way along your foundation row, and we will see you when you get to the end. Okay, I have just finished my first row, and I have, including my chain 3 at the end, 81 stitches. So that's 80 chains in my foundation row plus my turning chain. That equals 81 stitches because I'm including this turning chain as a double crochet. So that's the end of row 1. Now we're going to do row 2. We're still doing double crochet, so we need to create turning chains that will bring our work up to the right height, and that in this case is 3. So we're going to chain 1, 2, 3. There's 3. We're going to turn our work, and we're going to skip this first stitch because this is technically where the turning chain is going to sit. Pretend that that turning chain is actually a double crochet and it's actually coming out of that stitch. Instead, you're going to work your first double crochet into this second stitch here, and you go right the way through the whole stitch and make your double crochet. And then you're going to double crochet into every single stitch all the way back along row 2. And remember, when you get to the end and you come up upon your chain 3, which is what you started your row 1 with, you're going to put a double crochet in the top of that chain 3. And when we get there, I'll show you what I mean. Okay, I'm just coming up at the end of my second row. I've done my last double crochet into a regular stitch, and I've come upon that chain 3 that I count as a double crochet, but that was my turning chain from the first row. And I'm going to double crochet into the top of it. And you don't have to be like you're not picking up an actual stitch, so you're just kind of pulling apart that top chain and sticking your hook in anywhere it'll fit, and then creating a double crochet in that. And it looks a little funny, but trust me, once we get the border on, it won't. So that's the end of row 2. You should again have 81 stitches, or your base chain plus the turning chain. And this is looking pretty nice, I have to say. I just love blue. It's so fresh, it's like water. Okay, so now we're going to do our third row. And it's the same thing as row 2. So we're going to start with a chain 3. So we're going to wrap our yarn and chain 3. We're going to turn our work around. So we're working back the other way. We're going to skip that first stitch because that is where we're going to pretend that this stitch came out of. And this is our chain 3, but it counts as a double crochet. We're going to identify the second stitch instead. And we're going to put our first double crochet of the second row, or I should say of the third row, into that second stitch, just like that. And then you're going to double crochet all the way back along that row, and that will complete your third row. And once you get to the end of your third row, remember to put a double crochet in the top of your chain 3, or that turning chain that you started your second row with, because that is technically a stitch. And we'll see you at the end of row 3. I'm just nearing the end of my 3rd row, and I've come back to that chain 3 that I started row 2 with, and I'm going to put a stitch in the top of that. So I'm going to identify the top chain and find a little hole, and I'm going to double crochet, which is wrap, go through the stitch you're working, wrap and grab the yarn, pull it back so that you've got 3 loops on your hook, wrap, go through 2, wrap, go through 2. And that is the major big stitch work that's involved in making this quick and easy scarf. Now we put on the border. So we are going to chain 1, because from here on out it's single crochet. Now instead of flipping your work like we usually do, we're going to make a 90-degree turn, and we're going to work down the side, the little side edge, and we're going to single crochet. So the first thing you're going to do is single crochet back into that piece of stitch that you just made. And you're going to single crochet in there. Then you're going to pick up a piece of a stitch down the side of that double crochet and put in a second one. Then you're going to do the same thing for the next 2 double crochets. So you're going to find a piece of stitch anywhere that you can sort of jam your hook into. You don't want to go right through that big space, because if you do that, it's going to make that space bigger and it'll really stand out. So you want to sort of bisect your stitch by sticking your hook right through the middle of it. You can see that I've stuck my hook through it. And you work a single crochet into that piece of stitch, and you do it again. So 2 single crochets for each double crochet that you made, and 2 more. We're working our way down here. That looks like a good place to put my hook, and 1 more. This takes me down to the chain that I started the whole thing with. There. So now you've worked 6 stitches, 6 single crochets down the side of your 3 rows, and you should be in the bottom corner. You're going to chain 1, do a 90-degree turn. So now we're working down the long edge, or the bottom of our scarf. You're going to put a single crochet in that same space, so that same chain corner, because what you're doing in effect is making a nice neat little corner. And then you can, if you're savvy, work over top of your short tail, or you can just pull it to the back and weave it in later. And you're going to work into each of these chains, the bottom of these chains. Make sure I'm working with the right yarn here. And you're going to single crochet into each of these stitches all the way along the bottom. And it looks a little funny because it's not quite like a regular stitch, but just press your hook against the next available spot and you'll find that it naturally goes through that open chain area. And that's just the bottom of the chains that you started your entire scarf with. And you're going to work your way all the way down the long side, the long under edge of your scarf until you get to the next corner. Alright, I'm just coming up to the end of that bottom row, and I'm coming up to my last, so my next corner, which would be the last chain in the underside of the scarf. So it's the chain, which is technically the bottom of that first chain 3. So it might look a little funny, but don't worry. And even if you kind of accidentally overwork or underwork, you can fix it when you do the corner. So I'm going to put 1 final single crochet into that chain. I'm going to chain 1, do a 90-degree turn, and I'm going to put another chain, or I should say another single crochet into that open chain from the foundation row. And then we're going to work up alongside the double crochets that make up the short side on the other side of our scarf. So I've already put in one single crochet. I'm going to find a space here and put in a second. Then I'm going to work 4 more up the side of this scarf. Get in there. There we go. And that brings me up to the top of my scarf. So now I'm back up to the top of row 3. So I've put in a single crochet. I've got 6 along the side there. I'm going to chain 1, do a 90-degree turn, put a single crochet in the same place that I just put my last single crochet, and it'll look a little funny, but don't worry. Then I am going to single crochet into the next stitch along the top of row 3, and I'm going to put a single crochet in the top of each of these stitches all the way back to the corner where I started the border. And we are on the home stretch here, everybody, so we'll see you at the last corner. I am just coming up on the end of my border row, and I'm going to put a single crochet into that last stitch that appears across the top of my border. And you see that there was our chain and our turn, and we're going to chain 1, and we're going to put our hooks into that first side chain or first side single crochet that goes down the side of our scarf, and we're just going to slip stitch to close. So that's just basically going to bend that back into the corner and it'll disappear. So that's it. Now we just snip off our work, fasten off by pulling the ends through that last little chain, and grab your trusty yarn needle and just weave in your tails. And this is the part where you can decide if you want to give it a little extra zazz. You might want to embroider something on it. You might want to put somebody's initials on it. You can check out one of our other applique tutorials, like the star, one of my personal favorites, and make a star and put that on it. You might also just want to leave it plain. I think this one looks just absolutely lovely on its own. Reminds me of a certain ice princess, and I know a certain somebody who would love to get this because she's totally obsessed with that movie right now. And yeah, so I think I am going to leave this nice and plain. Isn't that pretty? Ah, now that is a quick and pretty scarf. And you know what? I think I'm going to put my hat and my scarf back on and warm up. I'll see you guys in a second. There you go! One super quick scarf that's easy to decorate and really cozy to wear. Makes a great gift for somebody you know, or just for you. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. We will see you again very shortly. Please remember to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share it with your crafty friends. We will see you all again very soon on the Jayda InStitches show, and we will stitch something else up together. Thanks, everybody. Bye! Oh, I'm so cozy in this scarf. Woo!